Now that guitar sound there, now is that a, what would that have been recorded through? I know that people talk about the Zoom 9030. Is that a real thing?
That is it, yeah.
That's amazing. So you've had this thing for what, like 20 years?
It's a little, I've had it for over 30 years. I tell you what, I used it on at least part of Coming Back to Life in 1994. Wow. So I've had it for 30 years.
30 years,
that
yeah.
Same unit. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 of them because I keep thinking one's going to break, and you can download all your settings off them and plug them all into a fresh one.
So you'll just sit there, you'll plug it in, and you'll sit between the speakers and just run Pro Tools and play.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
When I saw you play at the Intuit in LA, right in the first, so you did the first 2 songs, you went and adjusted what I assumed was your amplifier. I couldn't tell from where I was where I was standing. Yeah. Is it because when people fill the room after sound check that it sounds different? It sounded, by the way, that was one of the best sounding concerts I've heard. It sounded phenomenal.
It's a strange room, the Intuit Center. Yeah. I believe, someone told me, there was some sound baffling built into it, and which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But if it's the only building that you're doing that's got this baffling, you've got to adjust things for it. And I found on stage that it was sucking the high end out of what I was doing. So, and I think in soundcheck, I thought that would come to life a bit more with the audience in. But I did have to go back to my amps and whack the old treble knobs up a tiny bit.
Now you're playing through, you have a couple high watts that you play through.
There's 1 high watt, 1 Alessandro.
1 Alessandro.
And a Yamaha thingy with the revolving speakers.
Yeah. And then you have 2 different cabinets, right? That
yes,
one with Fanes and one with Celestions.
Don't ask me. Speaker cabinets.
When I hear this, when I hear you're playing, as soon as I hear 1 bend, I know it's you. There's just so many things about how you strike the string that doesn't sound like anyone else.
I admit it, yeah. I don't know how that happens. That's not anything deliberate or worked on. It's just my taste as to how you want it to sound, how you want to bend things. Yeah, I mean, if I ever hear sort of people doing the solo to Comfortably Numb or something like that, which obviously comes up on Facebook and things once in a while, there are things that other people just don't have quite perfect. If you're talking about perfection in these matters, yeah.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. This is actually Rick Beato 2. I've had it since the beginning of my main channel, and many of you are not subscribed. As a matter of fact, 87% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on this channel and on my main channel. This will help me get even more of my dream guests and help continue to grow both channels. Thank you. Your melody choices as a singer, as a songwriter, and what you play on guitar are both lyrical. Yeah. But they're lyrical in a different way. You have a different vocabulary, whereas your playing has blues inflections through it, and your singing is has a different style of melody. And it's interesting that you have 2 different voices, yet your phrasing, where you leave spaces, is very similar.
Yeah, I can't pin down exactly how that all works. I don't overthink these processes. I just do them as they feel natural at the time. And in the past, I think, it's known I have, on occasion, found a solo a bit frustrating, and I've then sung a tune and then played the tune afterwards that I had sung, because it's easier with the voice to go off piece and find new melodies and stuff. Sometimes.
My friends that were asking me after I saw the first show, how did he sound? How did the band sound? I said, David sounds like he's playing guitar all the time. It sounded amazing. Are you playing? Do you play all the time?
I, like anyone, I have a guitar at home like this, acoustic, and I'm mostly sort of playing little tunes on the acoustic, strumming the acoustic. Electric, I don't really touch from month to month. But, you know, I've been making this album for going back quite a long time. I can't remember the exact dates. And so during the process of making the album, of doing the solos on these tracks, and then the whole process of all the rehearsals, a month of rehearsals, and the tour, some of that facility comes back.
Now, you worked with Steve Gadd on this record. I saw a little clip where you were talking about this, that when it came to making the record, you're like, well, I'd like to work with Steve Gadd.
Yeah.
What's Steve Gadd playing, or when did you become a fan of his? And
well, you know, when did I become a fan of Steve Gadd? I think it was on Chucky's in Love by Ricky Lee Jones back in 78, 79. And the absolute endless catalogue of great tracks that he has helped to make more magical.
Had you met him before you worked with him?
I had met him once before on a TV show. I think it was something like a Jules Holland later program, and when he was playing with Paul Simon.
I interviewed Steve last year, and we're both from Rochester, New York originally. And when he was playing, and you remarked to this in one of the interviews, that you talked about he didn't bash the drums. He played with he kind of pulls the sound out of the drums.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary process when you sit in a room with him, because, you know, you're sitting in a control room with these great big speakers, and he's just, and it's going, it's baffling to me.
Right.
Still baffling to me how he manages to get that. And I've, you know, been around a lot of drummers, and a lot of them think that the power is where it's at, and he just does the opposite.